The topic of today's panel is change makers. I mean, you knew that already, but change makers within communities. And when we think about communities, it's who's making impact at community level, not just necessarily in the communities in which you reside or the neighborhoods that you're in, but communities in the places that you belong, with shared belief systems, with shared passion points, with shared interests, with shared behaviors. And it's whether that's arts or culture or music or cause or some intersection of all of these things, it's really in these places where true connection happens. At T1, we have something called, we often refer to as the Futures Cone. And this was brought to us by our VP of Strategy, Nat Tabanos. And the whole idea here is that we have the ability as individuals to impact the version of the future that we want to see. And as part of this work, we see more and more it's so incumbent on corporations, on organizations, to bring in the change, to be the change that we want to see. And whether that's they're filling a void from governments that they can't do or they won't do, or they're shining a light on the underserved, the underrepresented, and the communities. And that's really where impact happens. And so today, that's what we're here to talk about. And I find it funny talking about shining. I don't know if it's been already referenced today, but I'm sure we're all seeing these images of the Aurora Borealis, the Northern Lights. And here we are leading up to the final of the inaugural season of Northern Super League, whose sole identity is rooted in the Aurora Borealis, and it's shining brighter than ever. And so with that, let's bring, I don't know if that's a coincidence. I'm going to ask Marianne. I'm no astronomer if she did anything here. But I'm going to bring a friend, a confidant, and a true trailblazer here in our industry, Marianne Brooks, up to the stage. Hi. So I think with that, we'll cue the first video here.
Gonna be the last girls at the party.
It's so good. I feel like I just saw it this week and I can't get enough of it already. So Marianne, you're VP Partnerships, you're responsible for commercial strategy at the Northern Super League. And your mission really is to elevate women's sport and inspire the next generation. So for you, what does community impact mean to you?
Well, firstly, like that video does such a fantastic job, I think, of really taking what is the league's mission statement and really just talking about all the amazing things we've been able to accomplish in a short period of time. So for those who aren't familiar, our mission statement here at the league is to build a top 5 league in the world that is rooted in community. And we have such a strong belief that we can do both, right? That innately sport is this amazing thing that can drive impact. We can also be amazing on the pitch with competitive matches night after night. And so it's really the beginning for us and what that impact looks like. You can see that there's been some amazing results in year 1, but for us, it's about building something that lives beyond those 90 minutes that happen on the pitch. Just in year 1, one thing I'll highlight is there's been 500 new jobs created in this league forming, a lot of those for women, and that's one real impact that is tangible. But yeah, it's all about that opportunity to impact something that is outliving the match that's being played.
Yeah, I think that's something that's you don't think about much about when these new women's leagues come. Apart from the athletes on the field, on the court, on the pitch, whatever that looks like, it's all of the ancillary benefit to the women's, the broadcasters and the 500 employees behind it. So it's really, really interesting. And as you think about this league, 6 teams in major cities from coast to coast, rumor has it there's more teams to come. How do you encourage the brands that want to be a part of this thing, the teams, to keep things innovative when you have 6 different clubs to look after?
Firstly, a shout out to our partners.
Yeah.
You'll get an opportunity to hear from a few of them once I exit here, but we have such a privilege to work with some amazing brands. And one of the things that really is at the core of those relationships is this amazing foundation around the shared values. Their belief in our league is as strong as our belief in our league. Yeah. So we start with that relationship, and I think there's an amazing opportunity for brands to really lend their platform to help accelerate the growth of leagues like ours, but then what they also get the opportunity in return is to connect with an audience that cares, that listens, that's engaged, that's growing. And so I think some of the things that we encourage folks to do, and there's going to be some great examples of this, is what are the challenges that still remain? Yeah. We've achieved so much, there's so much opportunity, and there's a lot of challenges that still lay ahead for us. And so those brands that we can find opportunities to work together, be able to solve those and create new opportunities, I think is where we can be really successful.
No, that's great. And you mentioned some of these brands, and you, for a first-year property, you've surrounded yourself already with some unbelievable brands. And we're talking tier 1, the best of the best within categories. And so it must be a really crazy intersection of not trying to be choosy, because funding is funding, but also choosing the right fit and the right partner. And can you talk a little about what matters to you, what shines through when it comes to finding the right match for your property?
It's a great question, because before this time I worked for the NHL and the Canucks for a long time. We talk a lot in this industry around brand fit and trying to find those opportunities. I think in this space, at least especially in this inaugural season, it was really about finding people fit. Yeah. I think that we have champions that are going to come up on this stage where just they understood the vision and the opportunity, and we built the business case around that. But it really is championed by the people that are making decisions in those boardrooms, that are making that bold decision to say, this is an important thing, we're going to make sure that this gets incorporated. We know it's the right thing to do. It's good business, it's good for business. Yeah. It has that combination.
And so you talked a little about challenges, and surely there's no shortage in a startup, because it's a startup. But what about some of the challenges, the bumps in the road that you've overcome? And you can look back on, 8 months ago, when funnily enough we were at SBX Vancouver about to kick this thing off on a similar stage. What have you learned? What are some of these obstacles that you're proud to say you've not only overcome, but impacted the community while you did it?
Well, firstly, shout out NSL club leads that are also here. We've got a number of folks from our clubs that are in attendance. And so I feel like that could be a panel in and of itself of all the learnings that we've had in this first year. We're doing everything for the first time. Yeah. Everything is being done for the first time. I think this final is our final thing that we'll be doing for the first time, but then there'll be more things we'll be doing for the first time. One of the challenges, though, and then I think this connects maybe more systemically, is, and Diana talks about it quite a bit, is infrastructure. Mm-hmm. We were stepping into a lot of facilities that were not our players' permanent home, stadium home per se. And so that was a big challenge. We turned that into opportunity, though, and in our partnership with Canadian Tire, really built a platform that not only highlights that that's a challenge, but then also starts to find solutions. So as part of Canadian Tire's partnership with us, there's real capital that they've donated or made available for our clubs to improve their infrastructure. It's a long-term plan, but it's an amazing, it was a challenge of ours that we then got to go to a trusted partner and say, I think there's an opportunity here for us to try to solve this together. And it's made a real difference for us in this year.
That's amazing. And it's really what comes to light is it's this idea of belonging. And whether you're on the property side, whether you're on the brand side, you kind of belong to this club and you're just believers and you're all in it together. And so with that, I think we'll have you exit. And we will bring on the collaborators, the brand side, the believers, because we know these things don't happen in isolation. And without these guys, it wouldn't be where it is today. So thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So with that, please welcome Eric Martin, Senior Manager, North American Sponsorship for BMO Financial Group, and Heather Cameron, Head of Brand and Creative for DoorDash Canada. Hi, guys.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for being here. So we're going to hear a lot about on the professional side, the way you're impacting not only Northern Super League, but so many other leagues and women's sports that you're touching. But can we talk a little bit about on the personal side? Because I feel like it takes a certain individual to sit in the seats you're in to believe in these types of initiatives, these things before we even know what they're going to be, to bring them to life. So how do you bring this to life on your personal side?
Okay, I'll go first. Obviously, through traditional ways. I live in a community just outside of Montreal with my wife and my 2 kids. So every time we have the opportunity to give back to our community or be the volunteer parent at the schools that our kids are going to, with the sports club they're a part of, we do so. But also with this community, the sponsorship community, I was lucky enough in my career to have amazing mentors, amazing supporters, so that every time I have the opportunity to pay back, to give back, that's something I do. That can be like through one-on-one coffee with students, like being a mentor myself, but also with non-for-profit organization. Often they don't even have the budget to have like one sponsorship person in their team or hire an agency. So if humbly I can be a one-time advisor for them, I'm always happy to do so.
That's awesome. How about you, Heather?
I didn't realize my socks would be so visible
Let's
in
see.
this seating seating arrangement. I think like my answer is super short. Just like as my career has gone on over the years, I find that I value things super differently. Where it used to be about the things that I make and the things I put out in the world, and now it's more the relationships and the little legacy pieces that I leave, and just kind of how the work gets done. I mean, the work is really important, but how the work gets done. And so that's why I landed in this space and kind of how I think about community.
That's amazing. And so, Heather, I'm going to quote you, I think. You've said that DoorDash's role is to invest in initiatives that create progress, bring people together, and inspire lasting change in communities. Can you elaborate a little bit about what that means?
Yeah, so I think that most brands have a good idea on what they want to stand for, but they don't have as clear of an idea on what they stand against. And so in order to truly be for something, you need to be against something else. So an example would be like, we're for progress, so we're against stagnation. And so when you look at the landscape, if everything feels the same, that does not feel like progress to us. And so we try to infuse that kind of compass in guiding of what do we stand for, and therefore what do we stand against, that we can recognize what we need to challenge in the market.
I'm going a bit off track here, but how much permission to play does DoorDash give you? Is this something that's bought in through the line, or is this something you're driving forward? How does that work?
Listen, this sounds really fun. I thought it was going to be really be fun at the very beginning too. There is a weight to it. So like when you are the person who is making the decisions, you also hold the number. And so both of those things need to be true. You need to do the right thing for the business, the right thing for the brand, the right thing that feels incredibly congruent with your own value system and how you show up and what you want to leave. and you also have to hit the numbers. So I have a ton of autonomy. I have a great visionary group of people that I work with, and an excellent CMO out of the US. But that autonomy comes at the cost of making sure that you hit all of those things. And that's the weight that you carry. And so the partners you take on, the agencies you work with, the team that you have, they're all there as such a driver to make those things happen. But at the end of the day, the number kind of lands here.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. And so, Eric, over to you. BMO is no stranger to soccer. I started my career at MLSE at Toronto FC specifically, and BMO was already painted on the stadium and on the kit. And so we know that you're heavily invested in the sport from coast to coast, but can you talk about some of the more unconventional ways in which you're integrated into the community?
Yeah.
I can.
couple example, but the first one that comes to my mind is you talk about your time at MLSC and T1. So it's how we started our grassroots soccer strategy. As many of you know, BMO is the Bank of Soccer since over 20 years. And one of the first milestone program we launched back in the days was our local soccer club program. And like this program has supported like 100,000 of kids across Canada, thousands of clubs and teams. And this is also I started my career at BMO back in the days, managing the day-to-day relationship with those local clubs, providing them with funding, with the tools they need, with our classic BMO soccer ball that I'm sure many of you have at home. And eventually I get to pass the program to one of my amazing team members, Jillian Nelson, who is for me the definition of a change maker. She's coming from a background in not-for-profit, and when she arrived at BMO, she brought so much energy and expertise to the table. She could honestly be on stage today, but she's busy having her first baby. So here I am.
Busy.
Yeah, very busy. So here I am, and talking about her, one day she came to me and my leader, and she said, I know you guys love the local soccer club program. It's a great program, but I think it's time to evolve to something else. And as a human being, you know, sometimes change can be challenging. So you can imagine our first reaction was not, yeah, no problem, let's change our very successful program. You know the saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. That was more our first reaction. But it didn't take us so long because we know she was right. The club needs has evolved over year, and what they needed 20 years ago, it's not what they need right now. So this is when we start regrouping internally, having many meetings with subject matter experts, syndication to leaders, and this is when we decided to switch from a more traditional sponsorship approach, more like transactional, to something more programmatic. So we start doing agreement with provincial soccer associations such as Ontario Soccer and then BC Soccer, Quebec Soccer, and hopefully we'll have more to announce shortly. And we just start creating more, to our opinion, more strategic, impactful program that now, like we have like over a million kids engaged in Canada. And one of our most successful program has been BMO Girls Play. So in a nutshell, this program is designed for girls aged between 15 and 17 years old. They get free training to become a coaches because we think that that's something we've heard before. Like the younger girl doesn't have a model because there's not a lot of like women coach. So we offer them the free training, and then at their turn, they get to coach in younger soccer festival. So this is our only way to give back, to like make sure we develop opportunity for women and girls in sport so they can get engaged and continue to grow the game on and off the pitch. And so yeah, and this is just one of the example of the program we launched. We obviously have like a lot of like program, a lot of clinics. We do Indigenous clinic, we do newcomers clinic. We even launched an app this year with Ontario Soccer called My Soccer app powered by BMO. So think about any professional sports app, TFC, Blue Jays, starting in 2026, all local clubs in Ontario going to have access to an app like that.
That's amazing.
So the parent will be able to live stream the game, track their kids' result. The coach will be able to showcase talent. So, but all that to say that it all comes from a simple but bold question. Mm-hmm. What if we fix things even when they're not broken? What if we challenge the status quo? At BMO, this is how we feel we energize community, by listening, evolving, and trying to reimagine what impact can look like.
That's so cool. And so when we think about impact in a new league, and you guys are, you know, first adopters to this inaugural league, this inaugural season, And we know, it feels good, it's a good story, it feels like the right thing to do, but we're now seeing across the board that it's also just good business. The results are coming. We can see it in the studies that are being produced, multiple times a year now. How, though, at the beginning, was it possible for you to sort of convince the higher-ups or be convinced that this was the right thing to do for your brands before knowing the outcome?
I mean, there is like a sense of belief in growth. In tech specifically, we believe in investing early to grow things. I think that for this investment, and we see it, I mean, I can give you some of the business metrics, like we'll go over that a little bit in how it's driving the business. I would put some other metrics on it. And I think like if, who in the room is like a marketer, like someone that controls like a P&L budget, like that makes these decisions? Okay, so few. And then who's like on the partnership side, like working on selling these? Okay, so I'll go that way then, because it feels like we have more. There is like the tangible numbers that come across a desk of like audience estimates, which obviously you can put a dollar amount on, some equity assumptions that you can make based on that exposure. That for sure is like all on the page. I think what is not measured, which is something that should be considered when working with clients and when a client's looking at an investment, is the intangible of how does this attract and retain talent internally for us? Because people see what they care about in this business. How does this drive policy conversations forward? That matters a lot to a business like mine, matters a lot to another business, or other businesses that really have to push on the policy side. How does this drive our comms platform forward? And so all of those kind of intangibles from the hop really need to be talked about. Marianne does a great job at this. NSL does a great job at this. You're investing in believing that the business project is going to grow, but then the other impacts are so huge. And you can start to feel those other impacts kind of like on day one, where the other numbers take a bit longer to come in. So when I got a call specifically for the NSL, from Georgia Simmerling, who's here in the room, she was oozing belief for this. And it took about 2 seconds for me to see in that woman what was possible for her to do. And so we made that bet. And regardless of like, the numbers are great, I think it's always worth making that bet.
Everything she just said.
Mic drop.
Exactly. On our side, the excitement was there from the very beginning, even before we get our first proposal from Marianne and Christina at the NSL. I don't want to repeat myself, but I mentioned like BMO has been in soccer in a long time, and through the grassroots program that I've mentioned, we always had mixed program 20 years ago. That was like one of our pillars, gender equity. So NSL was definitely natural next step. And with the MLS club we sponsor in Canada, we feel we have good knowledge of the game, of the fandom, but also through the MLS partnership, we have the academy. And with the CF Montreal Academy, a couple of years ago, we signed a co-founding sponsor partnership for the Women Academy, and we're also with the Whitecaps BMO Academy with Mix. So again, just for us, natural path to be with the NSL. And but that being said, we don't see you talk business. We don't only see women's sport through the lens of community investment. We're a strong believer in equity in sport, but we also think there's a real business opportunity. So this is when we start talking with Marianne and her team about what success can look like for BMO and NSL. What can we bring each other like mutually to find like some win-win partnership? And this is when we start talking about potential asset, and we came in agreement. Fast forward to that, in April, we were at BC Place for the inaugural game. It was such a magical moment. When Quinn scored the first goal, I've been to BC Place like 100 times due to a partnership with the Whitecaps, but when Quinn scored the first ever goal, I cannot describe it, but I still have goosebumps, and we're super excited to host the NSL final at BMO Field on Saturday. Saturday, right?
Oh my God, can I give you a number right now?
Please.
On business?
Yeah.
We made this announcement when the founding partners were being announced. One PR announcement. Just to give you an example, like moving a brand health metric takes a long time. It's like 18 months to see any stat sig movement. One announcement that October that we were in, that we worked on, what are we gonna do to just kind of like kick this off? One PR announcement shifted our consideration amongst all sports fans 7 points.
Oh my goodness.
7 points is, just to give you context, like a 3-year journey to get to. Directly after that announcement, nothing happened. Obviously, have to build a whole thing. There's a whole thing to be built. Number dropped. That's an amazing indicator of hitting on belief in shared values in a press cycle that is all over something new, and getting it in the business impact right away with sports fans. That's a big, big number. And I think over time, as this happens, we're gonna see bigger and bigger statistic numbers. So I would say from the jump, I estimated the whole thing based on driving business.
So you have some case studies to show some of this data to back up these comments. So I'm going to jump over to...
It was like the clicker is going to tell us who go first.
It's like roulette. Can you take us through this, Heather?
Yeah, I only have a couple slides. So with partners in the room, I think how I would like to angle this is thinking about partnerships differently, and what you can build collectively. And so when I have 3 league deals, WNBA for about 6 years, NSL, so the second signed right away with Georgia when they decided they're going to do this thing, and then PWHL, which we just signed. And so I'm looking at these 3 things, I'm looking at our mission, and I'm thinking it's probably belong together, but I don't know how we're going to get there, but we're going to figure it out. And I called each of the leagues and I said, hey, listen, if I came up with an idea, would it be cool if we put you all in one thing? And everyone was like, yes. We'll totally do it. And I kind of sat back after those 3 phone calls, and I was like, okay, I'm going to need to come up with an idea to make this a really big deal, which now I've seemed to have promised. And so this is kind of where it starts, where every creative idea starts for us. It's with a manifesto that kind of sets the tone on what you want to build. And then as you build it, internally with partners, we're working with BHLA on this, who's an amazing partner of ours, and we operate as one team, and also did the branding for NSL, which is truly beautiful. We built up this manifesto, and then all the work needs to measure up against this. So if I don't feel this with the work, we're not there yet. We have to keep pushing. And so in this world of all the leagues, in this momentous change, this is kind of where we started from. I'll give it a read just to put you in the world, and then I'm going to show you some of the video work that we did, some of the film, and then I'll talk you through a different way at partnerships, and that's kind of what we'll do together. The most dangerous move in sports wasn't invented on any field. It happened when rivals turned to each other and said, what if? For decades, sports followed one dusty old playbook, league against league, team against team. Everyone clawing for every dollar, every fan, every precious second of screen time. But while men were building competitive kingdoms, women were crafting an empire. 3 women's leagues, 1 unbreakable, unstoppable alliance where Aja Wilson shows up ringside wearing a Sarah Fillier jersey, where Desiree Scott sits courtside with her face painted in Liberty Seafoam black and white, where opponents share resources, strategies, and the spotlight instead of hoarding them. This isn't polite cooperation. This is a massive disruption of a system that never saw it coming, where rivals compete like hell against each other, but also celebrate each other, amplify each other, create something bigger than any of them could build alone. The old sports world is frantically looking around asking, what happened? Simple, we happened. And now it's time to build.
Come on. It's so good. It's so good. I love that you brought the three together. And I love, and not to no surprise that they all said, of course.
Yeah, no hesitation.
It's so awesome. Okay, so we're gonna move along here over to BMO. Sorry, just kidding. But I think these are just some quotes about the collab.
I'll do just like a quick 1 minute on partnerships, just so like if there's any value in it, take it. If there's not, you totally throw away. I think like thinking about what your partners bring to your business as well. That's how we've thought about it. And so just like league rights brings us with a ton of creds, it gives us an ordering opportunity. And it also gives us an opportunity to pass on that cachet and that heat to our merchants. And so we're taking all the local merchants, like these are the SMB, like local heroes, and we're saying, hey, we've got a challenge in women's sports, it's visibility. You've got screens, give them to us. And if you give them to us, we're gonna give you access to exclusive promos, really great deals, and we're gonna push more people to your restaurant. And they're saying, yes, we've got 20 restaurants signed up to do this, to play more women's sports all year long. And we've only started about 3 weeks ago. And so for them, they now have access to create their own progress and get more customers and drive more business based on this, more visibility for women's sports in location. And for all of us, we're really kind of working towards building a different model where it's finding out, what do I have that you need? What do you have that I need? And how can we make it bigger together? And so that's the different way we're coming at this. But I am like truly proud and excited about how everyone's gone on board with this. And I think at the end of the day, and we kind of talked about at the beginning about like how do you look at things? If I leave this moment that we're in together, building the thing at this time, like we all go off and do our things, and more women's sports are seen and more fans come in through these restaurants where their businesses are growing because of it, that is it for me. Like that's enough for me. So we'll move on to BMO, but that's kind of what we built.
Thanks, Heather. That's awesome. So, Eric, over to you.
Great. So I also have two examples. The first one is related to our new partnership with the NSL. This is something very brand new, so brand new that it actually launched today. The execution was today, so we don't have a lot of results love to share, but just wanted to give you that example because I feel like it's a continuity of what I was mentioning earlier about the program, about how we try to create opportunity for women in sport. So the BMO NSL Next Gen Press Pass has been created in partnership with the NSL, and today a student from the sport media Toronto Metropolitan University has been selected amongst a lot of application to have a once-in-a-lifetime experience shadowing like the broadcast team from the NSL today at the media day ahead of the final at BMO Field. So she have like a full access. Marianne was there this morning. She met with her. So from the pre-day briefing to attending the panel this morning and to, like the coaches and players, interview and studio visits. So again, another way for BMO. We love this type of program. My colleague Manpreet, who's here today, is leading a amazing, incredible program with TFC called BMO Women Fellowship Program. If you haven't heard about it, go check it online or go talk with Manpreet after. Sorry, you might have a lineup of people for you, Manpreet, after. But so yeah, at the end of the day, it's again a humbly way to make a difference. And the second example, it's all about community, and I realize I speak a lot today, and I'm going to give you all a break of my French accent, my Quebec French accent, and we're just going to roll the video, and after I'll tell you why I'm so proud of this program.
The problem with charity is it feels like charity.
My mom's a single mom, so it's hard for her to find money for extra stuff like soccer gear. I don't get to choose what I wear when it's just donated. It makes me feel different, like I don't fit in.
For kids in low-income households, the barriers to playing soccer go beyond money. So we decided to step up to help kids gear up. Introducing BMO Gear Up, an e-commerce hub that turned donations into a normalized shopping experience for kids. First, we collected equipment across the city. It was then sorted, cleaned, and photographed before being added to our online store. Unique access codes were then given to families in need through community organizations like the YMCA, giving kids the full experience of shopping for their own equipment without the barrier of cost, from checking out to being able to track their order.
The kid could even see the shoe on the website. The parent gets to have that feeling of buying their kid a pair of shoes.
Their chosen items were then carefully packed and delivered for their final unboxing.
Kids in less served or underprivileged communities, they feel the stress of their parents. To be able to find really great equipment, knowing that it wasn't a stress for their parents, was very reassuring. There was really a sense of pride also.
In total, over 10,000 pieces were collected, giving over 2,500 kids the equipment they needed to play. In the end, we delivered a shopping experience that leveled the playing field online and on the pitch.
I think it meant to them that they're important and they're worthy. It gives them the confidence to get on the field, and it gives them a love of sports and being active that will last for life.
I like playing soccer, and it makes me happy when I play soccer.
Amazing, isn't it? So I told you I'm going to tell you why I'm so proud of this program. Yes, it is an amazing program that we did a couple of years ago. And yes, it's the most awarded campaign in BMO marketing history. With that campaign, we won our first Lion of Cannes Award, Clio Awards, Sponsorship Marketing Association Best in Show. I realize I feel like I'm bragging right now, but this is not why I'm super proud. I'm proud of this program because it was really, you know the saying, it takes a village. That's what this program was. It all started from our wonderful brand advertising team working with our creative agency, FCB, that came together with this crazy but amazing idea. And then they put us in the sponsorship team, be like, we have this idea. Do you think it's feasible with our experience and experiential? Then we took the project and we just engaged so many experiential agency. We engaged with our partner at CF Montreal, with our local clubs that we were supporting back in the days, with the YMCA, at BMO, from many, many teams, like from communication to legal. So again, probably 100 people who has contributed to the success of this program. And we all know that, but it's just a good reminder that great program, impactful program, you mentioned it at the beginning, really come from working in isolation. It's all about collaboration, sharing the spotlight. When I say it was the most awarded campaign, everyone was proud of this program. We wanted everyone on the stage show. So yeah, just work together.
That's amazing. So Heather and Eric, thank you so much for showing us all what happens when you essentially rewrite the playbook and you move beyond traditional sponsorship models, or I love how you called it dusty old playbook, and really invest in people. And by way of doing that, you're investing in the community. So thank you both for your time, and thank you both for what you're doing, and looking forward to celebrating with you on Saturday.
Thank you. Thank you. See you Saturday.
Yeah, thank you. So our next speaker embodies what we have all heard all day today. She is a professional footballer, soccer player for those that still need the translation. She's a humanitarian, and she's truly creating change. She's transforming lives. So from founding the Scarborough Simbas to helping evacuate over 300 Afghans when the Taliban took power, to helping Canadian refugees, to not only a member, but a vocal leader with the Calgary Wild, to Right to Play Canada, and so many other remarkable organizations. Her resume speaks for herself, but come on up here, Farkhunda Muhtaj. So as I said, your resume speaks for yourself, but would love to hear firsthand as an athlete, as someone that's in the trenches, what would you say to other aspiring athletes or other folks that are in your shoes on the ability to create change, to create impact in the communities that you serve and that you represent?
Yeah, first off, I think this is a full circle moment, and it leads to the change making that we've been discussing. So 3 years ago, I also spoke at the Sponsorship X Summit in Montreal at the time. I was on a panel with Diana Matheson speaking about the impact of sport, and she was mentioning it was unofficial at the time that the NSL was Project 8 at the time would become a reality. And it's interesting to know that change takes action, and action is something that she was able to commit to. So that's quite remarkable, and 3 years later, we have this incredible league. I think for myself, my activism and my community impact in football is really rooted in my journey of being an immigrant to Canada and having parents from a refugee background, originally from Afghanistan, coming here. Sport, and specifically football, is what helped us resettle and integrate and then also become active citizens that were able to use sport as a force for good. And so you mentioned and alluded to Scarborough Simbas. That was as a result of COVID-19, when I was a varsity student athlete and a high-performance athlete coaching as well at the OPDL level. And we were fortunate enough to continue with restrictions, but unfortunately, underserved communities, grassroots organizations didn't have the same opportunities. And so that's why we built that, to help ease the settlement journey of refugees and newcomers to Canada at a time that their mental health was deteriorating just as much. And then the following year as well, you also mentioned that helping evacuate the Afghan youth national team to Portugal was as a result of the Taliban gaining control of the country. And I was asked by the Football Federation to help evacuate and find a safe solution for the families because their lives were in imminent danger at a time where there was no commercial flights leaving the country, all borders were closed, and there was Taliban checkpoints throughout the nation. But we were able to persevere and complete that. And I think those two are a result of huge global crises that had happened, and I took action because I personally couldn't turn a blind eye to things like that. And so continuing on, some of the work that I'm currently doing, as you mentioned, ambassador of Calgary Wild FC, as well as a footballer, but also with Right to Play Canada and many other organizations, is being more proactive in building a strategy, since it's not a global catastrophe what's currently going on by any means within the Calgary community, but it's an opportunity for us to see some of the gaps that exist and be able to hone in on them. And we're in a unique opportunity where it's the first year already. We have so many individuals that feel moved by the NSL. Now it's our responsibility to actually build a pathway and build community initiatives that allows everyone to feel a part of it and feel that they can access the game as well.
And I think we have a case study here that I'm going to head over to.
Yeah, so one of the case studies I have is my role as community ambassador. So I do play as a footballer as well in the team and also represent the team as a community ambassador. And I'm very privileged to be able to impact or influence the club both on and off the pitch. And our goal is very clear, is to achieve greatness both on and off the pitch. And the way we had done that this year was, as soon as I signed last October, I was invited for a week each in Calgary, because I'm not Calgarian, I'm actually from Toronto. But the vision and the mission totally resonated with me, and I wanted to be a part of this franchise or this club early on. And so we had done a bunch of community visits with nonprofit organizations, community clubs, and identified some of the gaps that existed. And the three focus areas for us was girls' development and empowerment. And so how can we get mentorship opportunities, training opportunities for the young girls, and be able to help build transferable life skills through the game. The second was community access and inclusivity. We know that everyone does not have access to the game, and it's about breaking barriers down to ensure that everyone, regardless of their circumstances, is able to enjoy and reap the benefits of the game, but also be able to be part of that player pathway if they so wish. And then the last one was health and well-being. And that just has to do with helping our community understand the benefits of sport, whether you're participating and having that lifelong approach to health and wellness. Now, our impact has been quite substantial in the first year, and I think it's quite unique that we do have a community ambassador. We're the only club in the league that has a player/community ambassador, which allows me to have a unique perspective from both the playing angle and the community angle. But we've engaged with the community quite extensively. This year, our players have had over 120 community visits, which is quite impressive. And if you know Calgary, it's broken down into 4 different quadrants. the Northeast community is a community that's quite diverse, has a lot of newcomers, and part of our strategy moving into next year is to be able to really hone in and have school visits and learning sessions and resources and workshops available to that specific community. And the reason being, you know, I can totally resonate as a newcomer to Canada. I came when I was 2 years old, but of course you know the ripple effects for quite some time. When families move, it's mostly because of either there was war and so on in their nations, but also for economic opportunities. And sport doesn't necessarily fit the mold for a lot of newcomer communities' vision for their daughters specifically, because for them it's, if you're going to become a professional footballer, great, but if you're not, then that wasn't a good investment on their end. But the way we have to almost rewire individuals to think is that you're building transferable life skills regardless if you become a footballer or not. And I know everyone in this room knows this, that over 90% of C-suite female executive leaders come from a sporting background, but that's the way we need to make sure that they're thinking, that it's so much, it's far beyond the game. And so that's something we're tackling. Strengthening the club's brand reputation. I think every club in the NSL definitely has a very strong brand and presence, and we want to make sure to continue to grow that growing into next season. And I think the executive team did a phenomenal job at that this year as well. And then also establishing partnerships. We know that we can't do the job alone, and our goal is to make sure that, you know, we build partnerships and collaborate with groups and individuals that totally resonate and align with our mission and vision. And through that, we were able to not reinvent the wheel, but rather partner and maximize our impact together. And so that's been quite successful for us so far. You can see on the screen some of the activations that we've had, and also through generous partnerships as well. We were able to give access tickets to community members that otherwise wouldn't have been able to come out to a game. And then the next case study that I have here is with Afghanistan football. It's funny, I wanted to do an NSL case study for being on the player advisory committee. I'll share a bit about that later on. But I wanted to share what I'm doing globally as well, and that's bringing the team back to the world stage. As mentioned, the Afghanistan women's national team, when the Taliban gained control, the Taliban did ban women's sport participation as a whole. The lives of the players were at risk. So the process that I took, and it wasn't a planned process, of course, it was a catastrophe that I was constantly reacting to, was first off evacuating the Afghan youth national team. As you can see the images of them on the screen. And we were able to evacuate them to Portugal after working tirelessly for well over a month. And when that happened, I was actually 3 weeks into my teaching contract, my first ever teaching contract, and I was invited for 3 days to surprise the families. And while I was there, I was constantly asked to extend my stay, to the point where they asked if I can live there, help build a resettlement plan, and support these young girls and the family members, which is exactly what I did, which ended up leading me to my journey of achieving my dream of being a professional footballer, because in Europe I was reminded that, my impact is far greater as a footballer, specifically for my community, than being a teacher ever will be. With all due respect to teachers, I love teachers, but in my opinion at the time, that's definitely the route that I needed to take. And so the Taliban had banned women's sport participation, which meant we could not compete officially for the Afghanistan national team. And so that's why I founded Ayanda FC, which is the unofficial Afghan youth national team. Ayanda just means future in Persian, and I genuinely believe that they're the future of our nation. And the goal was to make sure that they are in a ready position so that whenever we can return, we're able to compete at the world stage. And then lastly, of course, we didn't want to stay as an unofficial national team, and so was constantly lobbying FIFA to ensure that they did overturn that and restart. And the impact has been substantial. I mean, we have players competing in some of the top European academies. Two of our players, one of which are training at Estoril Praia, and the other one at Famalicão. If you're familiar with Portugal, you definitely know they're big clubs. And then FIFA had announced this year the formation of the Afghan women's refugee national team, which is not a full national team, which allows every Afghan to compete under FIFA sanctioned competitions, but it's the first step in which these players that have become refugees post-2021 can now compete in almost an unofficial, official capacity under FIFA's umbrella, and I advised that and was able to help support, bring that to life. And the last thing I'm working on is to make sure that's an official recognition where myself, I can compete as well, because unfortunately, I do not fit into the criteria of being a refugee post-2021, but of course everyone wants to play on the national team. So that's kind of what we're doing globally at this time.
That's all you're doing globally. Yeah. It's truly remarkable, and I think about how often when we're asked how we're doing and we say busy, and now I look at what you're doing day in and day out. You're incredible, and obviously the impact you've already made, but as you're someone that's never stopped and never plans to stop, what's next for you?
I have actually been very privileged to advise on different committees, and one of which was the NSL Player Advisory Committee, which was newly formed this year, of course, and that came with a lot of unique experiences. So I represented Calgary. There was a representative from each team as well. And we had the opportunity to discuss frequently with actually Christina Litz is here, president of the NSL. And that doesn't happen quite often where your advisory committee has a direct sort of line of communication with the president and can share concerns and can help support and grow the league together. And so that's been very fruitful. And also advising on Canada Soccer's development of Women and Girls Committee, which tomorrow they share the strategy. So if you can, I would totally attend at BMO Field as well as the FIFA World Cup Committee. And the reason why I mention those committees is because they each target a different area. FIFA World Cup 2026, for instance, is about how to leave a legacy in this city. The NSL is how to make sure that we have the best league possible and player voices are genuinely heard and considered. And then also with Canada Soccer, for example, is making sure the grassroots player pathway is very clear and it's very tangible for kids to achieve. And families are aware of how they can grow throughout the game. And so being a part of those committees just allows me to take back what I can do at the grassroots level and impact Calgary Wild FC even greater. So now that I know what our end goal is with the NSL or Canada Soccer or the legacy we want to leave with the FIFA World Cup in this country is how can we play our part to ensure that that's possible. And I think my very simple goal has always been just help individuals understand what it means to empower one person at a time. I say this all the time, we all dream so big and we want to change the world, but imagine if we just empowered one individual to support another, that would be exponential change for 8 billion people on this earth. So ask not what your country can do for you, but ask what you can do for your country, and I think that's the way that we should constantly think, and that's a JFK quote, by the way, not mine.
That's amazing. Thank you for reminding all of us that it doesn't have to start big. It starts with intent, and you're living proof of that. And I think if nothing else, the conversation today reminds us that no one's in this alone. And what we're seeing is a trifecta of a league that's there to empower and to trailblaze, and brands that are opening doors, and then athletes who are using their voices for good to make the change that we're seeing in real time. So thank you all so much for being here. This was an amazing panel, and looking forward to next.